sharing information. But if we have two Zoom going on, we can share two links so that some people will go and join another link to the other Zoom. We should be able to find a way, sir. We should be able to find a way. So let's just hold on for Tumishi to give us the link. Thank you. Please hold on. Because people have been sending messages to me that they are not able to, they are not in class.
Okay, the link will be sent to them now.
Okay. So please send it to the
Yes,
send it to
it's
Tumishi. You are not
up
on the
now.
RCDA class.
I've sent it to her. I've sent
Okay.
it to her.
Okay.
Okay, has she sent it?
Yeah, she has done so. She has done so.
Okay.
So please,
Okay.
everyone can, I mean, those who are not in this class now can join. So you can communicate to
Okay.
your colleagues and all that. So go ahead now. Help us share your slide onto the Zoom, I mean, onto the YouTube channel.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Please, you can start again now. Thank you.
No
Thank you for your
problems.
time.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Mm. So yes, I started with introducing pedagogy, the concept of pedagogy, why this topic is important. Okay, and I mentioned a lot of things from um, what pretty much prompted me into looking into this, learning methodologies, education psychology, and all of that. So where we are now. So if you're just joining, don't worry, you've not missed anything. You've not missed anything. We're still at the introduction. So pedagogy is the science and art of teaching and education. How to teach in a way that people want to learn and love to learn. Then the relevance to us as rehabilitation professionals, one is in the clinic and two is academia. You are going to be maybe assigned to students to lecture at some point, and the way you teach them matters. The way you teach them will determine how they would eventually turn out in future. And then in the clinic as well, you have your patients to deal with. You have to explain their treatment plan. You have to explain what is going on in their body. You have to offer them, home programs, and you have to educate them on the home programs. And if you don't do this well, it can end up becoming counterintuitive. Take, for example, giving a patient as a physio, giving a patient exercise to do at home, and then you don't teach them how to carry out the exercise. Just tell the patient to do cervical rotations, and then you do it once, and they go home and they forget what exactly you told them, and they start doing the wrong thing. Then they come back the next time worse. A lot of times you may just think that they are worse because they are not adhering to the exercises, but they are doing it, but doing it wrongly. So most of the time, when you now tell them to do what you said, to do the same exercise you gave them, you may be shocked to find out that they are doing a totally different thing. So the key element for pedagogy in the context for this conversation, understanding your learners, designing the materials for instruction, and evaluating outcomes. Because teaching and learning is incomplete without evaluation. So let's go. The impact of pedagogy. So the stakeholders involved in this conversation are rehabilitation professionals, the physios, the OT, the speech therapist, the audiologist, the chiropractor, everyone who is, identified primarily as a rehabilitation professional. They're all stakeholders in this conversation. Now, the educational institutions, universities, training providers, um, health institutions, hospitals, clinics, etc. So now, whether you are teaching in the classroom, in the clinic, or you are teaching right now on Zoom, the way we are doing MRTB Institute, everything that has to do with training, there should be a system that ensures that you understand the basic concepts of pedagogy. So let's go to the next one. These are the other stakeholders, government bodies, health ministries, licensing boards, professional associations, insurance companies, technology providers, NGOs, research institutions. Now, these are the beneficiaries. Who is this going to benefit? The number one, this is not even a coincidence, the patients and their caregivers. Patients and caregivers. Thankfully, there's another training that we're going to be having. I think it's November on patient and caregiver education. It's worth looking up to, looking forward to. Now, students in rehabilitation disciplines, educators, it's going to benefit educators, it's going to benefit the healthcare system eventually, community, workplace, policymakers. One of the mistakes that I've noticed being involved in many, many, many outreaches, health outreaches, medical outreaches, and all of that is a lot of times I find out that the professionals have lost touch with what it means to communicate with the layman. So you see physios going on outreaches and they're talking about back pain, and all you're hearing is spondylosis and spondylolisthesis, so many things, lumbago, lumbalgia, so many strange terminologies that even some physios wouldn't know. Some younger physios will be confused, not to talk of the market people, or the people in church and all of that. So there should be a way of ensuring that everything is broken down for the community to benefit from whatever you're offering. Now, understanding learning styles. What are the learning styles that we have? What are the learning styles that we need to look at? And why is this important? One reason it is important is because every individual learns differently. It's the principle of individuality. Every individual has a unique learning style. And this is one popular mistake in most Nigerian, it's all over the world, but in Nigeria, it's more like a pandemic. Most Nigerian institutions, so the classroom setting is still quite way behind in the sense that a lecturer appears in class and then there are hundreds of students, and then they are being forced to learn the same way. So there's no integration of the different styles, which we're going to see. So the delivery of the material may be primarily through a particular means, which doesn't favor the whole of the class, but a certain segment of people. Now, if those certain segments eventually do well, they'll be seen as the brighter ones. Meanwhile, it's because some others are being starved. They are not being taught the way they want to learn or the way they prefer to learn. So what are the different learning styles that are available? Number one is visual. The first part is visual. So there are some people who are primarily visual learners. They learn from what they see. They prefer to learn from what they see. They love to see visual representation of what you are telling them. Even if you're giving them facts and figures, they want to see it in colors, in shapes, in circles and triangles, and all of that. And the next is auditory. So there are people who would learn better if, they hear somebody say it. There are some learners who would come to class. They just need to come to class and be in class and hear the lecturer say some things and they understand the concept. But for some people, visual may include even text. They want to see it in their textbook, watch a couple of videos and all of that. Now there's reading and writing. Okay, so this is now trying to break away. Usually, we would group this under visual as well, but then this would have its own place now. Reading text, looking at images, then writing as well. The graphic sense of putting things down, helping them to learn, of which this seems to be the most common one that we use in a lot of institutions. So now the kinesthetic, yeah, auditory and reading. usually the most common. Then the kinesthetic is learning by doing, practical learning. Okay, so this time around, it's not okay. Let me give one test for example, how to part of the test for SID dysfunction for let's say physiotherapy for instance. A patient is presenting with SIJ pain and all of that. You've done some tests and you want to do Gensler's test, and you can easily explain it and say, okay, put the patient in this position, apply pressure on the contralateral limb, and then put downward pressure on the all of those things. The auditory may get what you are saying. They can understand it from just hearing and maybe create mental pictures and all of that. But there's somebody in that class who is never ever going to get what you are talking about. They will never be able to understand it. In fact, if you ask it as an exam question to describe it, they don't know, they won't know it. They can't learn it like that until they actually follow you, look at you do it, and then they do it by themselves. So this is where the kinesthetic learning comes in. And most of what we do as rehabilitation professionals are on this spectrum mainly. You're going to do a lot with your hands. You're going to demonstrate a lot. You're going to have to explain, and have people do certain things. Now, tailoring teaching methods to match different learning styles for effective knowledge transfer is the importance of knowing this so that you can tailor. Now, out of all of these ones, can I ask, from what I presented here today, right now, which is the best form of learning? Which one is the best form of learning, of teaching, of delivering instruction?
I think it should be kinesthetic.
Okay, okay.
Because it involves practical application.
Okay, okay. That's amazing.
Multi-sensory, you combine.
Oh, okay, okay. Who said that? I cannot see the person.
Dr. Grace Bamigboye.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you very much. So, the truth of the matter is, there's no fixed answer to this. Depending on what you're doing. However, the best approach is multisensory, like she said. I know why it is. I intentionally removed that part. I intentionally didn't add mixed because it will just be clear. I'll give it away. So now the best approach is integrating all of this. Integrating all of this. So you are giving your learners information. You are projecting the information for them to see. So let's give a typical example: how the heart pumps blood. We've been taught circulatory system from primary school. We've been taught, they will draw it on the board and all of that. It was in the university that I came to, I think it was in my first year, biology, that I stumbled on YouTube. And I was like, okay, this information is actually available. Why haven't we had a time to maybe display this and see how it works? Okay, this valve would open, this one will close, and blood will move from here to here and all of that. And the moment I started seeing those things, it stuck more with me. I could easily explain it to other people. So like it's that audio visual, you are hearing and you are seeing. Okay, so we can decide to use a lot of this. So if you want to teach your students, your learners, how to do a particular physical examination, you can play a video. There are many good ones out there. You can play a video for them to see. Now they have seen it. Okay, they've done the audiovisual already. They've done visual and auditory already. Next thing, okay, do they need to take notes? What and what do you need to note? What are the important things to write down? And then the next thing is group yourselves and do it. And I love the fact that Prof will always tell us for hands-on training, it's not the same if you are not being guided, supervised to do hands-on, and you are not carrying it out by yourself. You can't just watch the video and listen to it and you don't do it. They are not the same thing. So all of these things have to come into play. Now let's go to the next one. Examples of activities or materials suited to. I've already, given an example to this. So learning needs analysis. How do you conduct learning needs analysis? This is all about identifying gaps between current and desired knowledge, skills, and behaviors. What do I mean by this? Now, one of the things that we have not really sat down to understand about examinations, especially what's it called now? This exams that we write and they mark. There's something it's called graded examinations. Is the fact that it is meant to be a form of assessment, not just for the students, not just for the learners, but for the instructors, the teachers, the lecturers. Why? It will help you to assess their level of understanding. If you set an examination and notice that there's a particular question that they are not doing well at, almost all of the students failed it. It's not an opportunity to slam at them and say your class, you people, your set, you don't know anything. You people are the worst set of physiotherapists we are going to produce and all of that. No, it calls for re-examination, coming back again to the class and saying, okay, this is what you did not understand. Let's look at it again. This is why you failed the questions. Let's look at this again. One of my favorite lecturers in the university, Professor Omuna, he does that all the time. We write an examination and then he notices that there's a particular question that we didn't do well at. He will come back to the classroom and we'll all do revision. So he would look at the questions again. So this is why you failed it. This is the right way to answer the questions. So how do we identify gaps between people's current knowledge, experiences, or level of knowledge, and then seek to improve on those gaps? That's what learning needs analysis is all about, because you may be assuming that what you are teaching is so important. So you may take like 10 hours, or let me say 5 hours within all of your sessions in class or wherever, assuming that, okay, this is what the patient needs to understand. But then when you begin to ask questions, patient or student or learner, when you begin to ask questions, you find out that no, these people are already so good at this. You may be seeing some patients and you don't know how experienced they are. You may think you need to explain from the basics. Everything you say, you will try and explain to them again. Let me give a typical example. There's a patient I was seeing recently in my workplace. He's not, I think he's Hebrew. And I was trying to explain some things to him about ultrasound. He'll ask questions and I will explain. He'll ask questions and I will explain. Then I noticed that almost everything I was saying, he knew what I was saying at the basic level. In fact, he was now explaining back to me how the ultrasound works from physics, because he studied electronics and he's into all of those stuff. So for me, my primary goal would no longer be to try and explain those things to him, is to ascend to another level where I will perceive as his gap for learning. And then I'll try to meet him at that point instead of just trying to explain what he already knows. So let's go on. These are the steps that are involved. Okay, these are the steps, the options involved in available for learning needs analysis. So you can use surveys, you can do forms. Okay, let people share their challenges. Okay, what do you think you need to know? In fact, if we're even doing outreaches, if we're conducting outreaches, it is important to ask whether it is the community, the dwelling community members, or it is the professionals in that community. What do you think are the frequent challenges these people have? What do you think that we, as speech language pathologists, as speech therapists, as audiologists, as physiotherapists, what do you think that we have that we can offer to these people? So I did, and I led an outreach in my church, and I discovered something. There was a trend for that particular day. There was a trend. A lot of people were having, hypertension. Very significant hypertensive urgency, hypertensive. I think about two were at hypertensive emergency. One declined. One, we're telling the person you need to see the doctor and get it reviewed and all of that. So yes, we know that stress and walking about and all of that can influence the blood pressure for one visit. So some of them, we had to put them on checks. Okay, go to a pharmacy and check. After a while, check again. Before you go to bed, check again and all of that. So we had to now do more like a statistical data it was meant to be presented anyways, to do a statistical information and say, okay, these are the common things that we think we would need to talk about: blood sugar, diabetes, hypertension, chronic stress. When you ask questions, you'll find more. Okay, so interviews are also part of how you can identify gaps in learning. Assessments, then direct observation. These are the methods for analyzing learning needs and then knowing what next to do in terms of intervention. So now, what's the relevance? Ensuring that your teaching content meets the specific needs of your audience. Okay, whether you're training students or trainees or professionals. Now, this instructional design model, this model, I'm going to um, I'm going to talk more about this next week. So let's go to the next one. Yes, let's go to the next one. These are um the different instructional design models, the different frameworks that are available. There's the ADDIE model, that's the first one. Yeah, the ADDIE model. There's Ghanai's 9 events of instruction. There's Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, yes, Bloom's taxonomy. Now, the thing is, I don't want us to look at all of this because there's a whole lot of information out there. It's technically information overload. So I don't want us to look at all of this and feel scared. Okay, where do I start and all? They're just all basically saying the same things. They're saying the same thing. It's all about grouping information, structuring information delivery. There has to be a format to follow when it comes to designing and delivering training programs. There has to be a format from premediating, from thinking of what your learners may want to learn, may need to learn, to analyzing their current situations, their problems, the roadblocks in accessing that particular information, to the actual designing by virtue of the quality of the content, the whether you're going to use slides, whether you're going to write, all of those things, the information, how to source for the information, okay, delivering the training, then at the end of the day, getting feedback. Remember, I said this earlier that without feedback, information delivery is incomplete. Without feedback is incomplete because communication, there has to be a message to be delivered. There has to be a sender. There has to be a channel for which that message will be sent. There has to be a receiver of the information or the message, and then there has to be feedback. Okay, so the feedback can be as simple as, do you understand? Do you get it? Are you here with me? The feedback could also be maybe filling very simple Google forms, that would let you know what you need to do better, what they appreciate more, what they like more, and all of that. So I came to understand that if we actually do this, it's going to help a whole lot because people will be able to give their 2 cents. People will be able to offer their mind to share what they think about a particular learning program. Then we can improve. So if somebody says, for example, that Chijoke, you talk too fast. I've been there a whole lot of times because I give feedback forms for every training I do. These days, I slowed down on that. But usually, for most of the training programs I do, I offer feedback forms. So people can go and put in the feedback and tell me what they like, what they don't like. So I usually read both of them well. I read one smiling and I read one with my heart beating fast because they wouldn't spare anything. Now, my mom was the first person that gave me feedback. Chijoke, you talk too fast. Your videos are valuable, your contents are valuable, they are everywhere. But Haba, slow down. Not everybody follows your speech with the speed that you are talking. It seems as if you are in a hurry, you know. So I took that feedback and it changed my information delivery system. So right now I try to speak a bit slower so that people can catch up with my speech. So let's just continue. I was talking about the benefit of getting good feedback. So this is still the Bloom's taxonomy. There are three different types of this. I'll discuss that again in our next session. There are three different categories under this Bloom's taxonomy. There's the cognitive, there's the affective, and then there's the what's it called again? This pragmatic or something like that. The aspect of doing. So the kinesthetic aspect of it. So now this is the part of feedback. Usually ends with feedback. Thank you very much, psychomotor. So psychomotor is now the one that has to do with applying what you have learned. So you are at the point I kind of redefined it into emotion, logic, emotion, and action. Just a way to break it down to make it easy to understand. Logic, emotion, and action. So at the cognitive level, I'm thinking of how logical it is, how this aligns with my thought patterns, how the concreteness of the knowledge that I'm acquiring. Then at the affective, I'm thinking of how this knowledge will influence my behavior, how this will affect my emotion, and then the next step is what can I do with the knowledge that I have. So this is like the targets that you are going for in terms of teaching, what the goal for learning is for your learners. So this Bloom's taxonomy, let me just briefly explain this. This is the cognitive aspect, the triangle. So at the highest level of delivering information, or the highest goal for delivering information,
pyramid,
is the pyramid. Thank you. The highest at this pyramid, the top is creating, the bottom level is remembering. But then this is what usually happens, in most learning systems, most learning structures, the schools, wherever information is being delivered. Usually there's a lot of focus on the lowest rung on this ladder. There's a lot of emphasis on remembering. So remembering is at the lowest level on the value of actual learning. Now, if you're going to set examination and people will write the examination to pass, and then some people are going to get A's and B's and all of that, there's a whole lot of that examination that may not really be so useful to them in real life. Why? It's not that it's not useful, but some of the information, they are readily available online. You can just pull out your phone and Google. You can pull out your phone with AI now. You can do amazing work, and then it's all in your face. So that remembering dates, when Obafemi Awolowo died, when this one happened, and all of that, it's at the lowest level. So you want to keep ascending. The goal of your instructional model or instructional design or your instructional delivery is to help your learners ascend from this remembering to actually doing stuff, creating. Then let's go to the next part. Okay, the importance of feedback. These two, I'll explain it in our next session. Now, the different methods of evaluation: self-assessment, peer review, client feedback, and instructor evaluation. Now, I've already talked about all of this. Effective communication for learning. What does this involve? We're talking about verbal and non-verbal communication. This is where I'll say this: every teacher is a public speaker. Every teacher is a public speaker. There are essential tenets, essential components of effective speaking that you must be able to apply when it comes to teaching. If not, you may be delivering wonderful information, but then people will easily slip off in your sessions because they don't feel connected. You can be giving a lot of stuff verbally, but then your non-verbal attitude, your non-verbal communication style may not be so attractive to the learners. There are that's one of the reasons. As I'm saying this, some people may be coming to your mind. There are some lecturers who who taught you, some of them would like to walk around the room. They walk around the room, they will tap you at the back, they will crack jokes and you laugh. They tell you stories, they run around, they gesticulate, they leave their script on the podium on the left hand, and then they walk around. Then there are some others that would glue onto that podium, that left hand, they will hug it. Sometimes they may be swinging it front and back, front and back, front and back, right? There's always a difference. There's something that you get from one that you don't get from the other. It's usually very different. Okay, so body language is important, and that's why I will also advise everybody who is into teaching or speaking to look into body language psychology. There's a whole lot to the connection between how your body moves, eye contact, how you vary your body position in space, and how this affects the people who are learning from you. Now, the next one is engaging beyond the classroom. How do you set up digital tools, forums, and group discussions? Again, I would cite my lecturer, Prof. Umuna. During our exams, almost every course he taught us, especially from our fourth and final years, he would create groups. He would just create a WhatsApp group. So he's like, if you are reading anything, even if it's by 2 a.m., even if it's by 3 a.m., you can call me. I'll answer you. If you are reading anything, you don't understand it, put it on this group. I'll reply, and he will. So that really gave us a lot of confidence that, okay, that if you don't understand something, you can go to the group and post, and then he will respond. And sometimes he will just be like, okay, everybody should try, contribute. So people are trying to make something good out of the whole situation, and then you're learning from that. So there should be a way of ensuring continuity, using digital tools, forums, platforms, group discussions to ensure that your learners are actually learning beyond the classroom. Now, this also goes for patients. I would love it if hospitals, clinics can embrace this. One, for clientele retention. If clinics, hospitals can create platforms where their existing patients can be in a group where they can ask any question, you can ask questions, or you send them some things, group patients, or these are the patients who are having neck pain, neck specific exercises can be sent. You can see how it is done. So if you already have this and your physio has recommended the exercises, do this. These are general health tips so that we don't have to keep reminding them on every visit. You can tell them the importance of importance of breaking the sedentary cycle by moving, by staying active, and all of that. Now, let's just get on with the conversation. Building rapport is also an essential component for effective communication in learning. Establishing a positive learning environment that encourages participation. Now, it's going to be very hard to teach people who don't like you, one way or the other. It's going to be very hard to teach people who see you as an enemy, who see you as the final boss. So imagine a lecturer coming into class and every student is already tensed. They are shaking. This one, what's the trouble he's going to make now? Maybe he will see the mic is not talking well, and then he will go and report us to the HOD that we ate the batteries. One thing or the other. And it doesn't really make that room for effective communication. Okay, so one way or the other, you need to be able to build rapport in conversations, in your classroom, in sessions. It can be through telling a joke, breaking the ice, making things a bit more easy. So a lecturer who comes in, I'll share a story. A lecturer who comes into the classroom and looks at the students, the learners, and then goes, you people don't know anything. I'm asking a question, nobody's answering. You people don't know anything. Your class is the worst set I've ever taught in my life. Oh, this is the worst class. This is the worst set of physiotherapists we are going to graduate, and all of that. This kills the morale of your learners. I was a class rep in school from my fourth year. In fact, from my second year, I was a course rep. Fourth year, I became class rep. And a point came, I couldn't hold it any longer. I would go to my classmates after almost every class. I'll just meet a classmate randomly, and I'm like, what was the impact of this class on you? How do you feel? about these things that are being said. I'll just paint a picture and then let them respond. And then I got really valuable feedback. For me, I used to see it as okay, it wasn't really affecting me. I didn't so much give so much attention to it. Um, but then I wanted to know what others felt. So I asked some of my classmates, how has this been? These things that they say, does it get to you? I thought it wouldn't. I thought it wouldn't be an issue because we're all adults and sometimes we laugh about these things. I met a few of my classmates who opened up that those words were getting them depressed. You know, it was breaking them down. They were feeling too low about themselves. And then you enter the classroom and they are telling you you don't know anything. Your class is the worst set of physios and all of that. Then something interesting happened. Something very interesting happened. One of the days, we had a new lecturer who came to our school, Dr. Akobundu, Mrs. Akobundu, came to our school. And the first class she had with us, she treated us like primary school children. She treated us as if we were in nursery, nursery school. The first thing she said, she made us write down like 10 values, 10 values, core values, each individual in the class. We're 100 and we wrote down our core values, personal core values. And then each person will stand up and read their own core values, and people were reading the core values. The whole class will shout at some people's core values. People would say love, peace, and all of that, and we'll laugh and shout. Then that was her first class. She was like, even if this is what I achieve for this first class, I'm okay with that. For the first time in my entire stay in school, I saw my class, like everybody playing like children, reciting core values, writing down serious core values and all of that. And it meant a lot to me personally, seeing them in that state. And I had to walk up to her later and especially appreciate her for that. Now, what it did is my classmates, I know my classmates, their lectures they wouldn't want to attend. They will just want either somebody signs attendance or they will find a way to come to class and make up one excuse and sign the attendance and all of that. But people hardly wanted to miss Dr. Kobundo's sessions, her classes. The way we'll just be running to the class because we know our mommy is going to be in class and she's going to, we're going to probably do some play before we start learning and all of that. It made learning stickier. Creating a positive learning environment can be the game changer for your instructional programs or lectures, whatever the case may be, as long as it has to do with delivering information. So now, why most lectures and presentations are boring? These are the reasons. Number one, common pitfalls, monotonous delivery. So if you're going to deliver instruction and it's just all about slides, reading the slides, and then people are copying notes, it's just boring. It's just straight, white and black like that, just straightforward. No interlude, no comic flow, no picture, no video, nothing. It's one system of delivery every day of the week. It's going to be a lot boring for the learners. Number two, information overload. It can get to a point where you are learning, but that law of diminishing return has set in. So you've been in class for many hours. Your brain is tired. It's no longer processing information. Everything is just pouring. Like the cup of water that is filled and more water is pouring. It's nothing is entering again. Okay, and it can be counterintuitive, especially when the lecture is boring or the information sharing is not as interesting as it should be. Now, lack of interaction. Lack of interaction. Interacting with your learners will help them to understand more about what you're teaching, what you're saying. And then again, poor visuals, it's also another thing. And that's why I always advocate for visuals. But even if you don't have visuals, I can turn this off. I can turn this presentation off and just use my face, talking head videos. I just use my face. Maybe I'm going live on Facebook or anywhere. I'm educating the public, anything like that. But then there's one thing that can easily replace visuals because of the way the brain interprets information. And that thing is, can anybody attempt something that can replace visuals? If you don't have a slide, you don't have a note, a card, a what's it called, prop or whatever. There's something you can use to replace visuals. Can somebody attempt? to say that.
Like storytelling.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Please, who said that?
Adamu Thomas Shawaza.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Storytelling. Storytelling. The brain is able to do advanced levels of processing when it comes to mental imagery. The brain is able to paint powerful pictures. As I'm saying this now, I can still remember a story one of my lecturers, I've been mentioning this my lecturers too much. Professor Muna, I can still remember some of the stories he told us, that in the exam hall, this is like it becomes so interesting because in the examination hall, when you are done writing, when you come out, everybody is laughing. We are laughing at the story. Some people are going to be, some people will be saying, I know, I'm very sure this story is not true. I'm very sure this story is not true. Okay, this one, it seems it's going to be true, but it's too sweet to be true, that kind of thing. And it's because the story has occupied our minds. The a story he once told us, I can still literally regurgitate the story, Achinkere and all of those things. The names are in my head. So now that storytelling has taken over the place of visuals, and your brain has the ability to capture everything piece by piece. So if you're a good storyteller, you may not even need slides for information delivery. You may not even need a lot of these things. So when you go for an outreach, you can tell powerful stories that would educate the audience. When you have learners, students on posting and they are learning from you, you can tell powerful stories to narrate a patient's recovery. You can help them, track from triage to discharge with a story. So instead of, okay, this happens at 2 weeks, and after 3 days you can commence this and that. Put real human beings there. Even if it's not true, they may not even know. But like put human pictures there and then make it a story. That after this, they went for physiotherapy, the first physio session, they were so afraid, but this is what we did, and this and that, and then the home programs we gave him, all of those things. So they are more able to follow up what you are saying in pictures. Now, the next one, the solutions. What can we now do? Excellent. Interactive elements using question and answers, case studies, occasional pause. It's just the way I'll just stop now and say, okay, who can guess, or all of that, because this is night, and we're trying to make this as effective within the short time that we have. Otherwise, if it was like a physical program, a physical event, we'll have time to do breakout sessions, meet this person, group yourselves, play if you want to, then come back and share what you've gotten, and all of that. I particularly experienced this when we did the neurological intervention program. Was the neurological MSK application in sports and MSK in Abuja with Dr. Anjorin. And we had sessions of doing this quadrant, the body quadrant thing. We had to group ourselves. It was really, really fantastic being an interactive session. Now, the visual aids, using images, videos, diagrams, this helps a lot. A lot of the gaps that we may have in information delivery, we can easily cover them because we don't even need to reinvent the wheel. The information has been delivered. Somebody has done it so well. It's there on YouTube, it's there online. We can have these things recorded and displayed. In fact, we can even come for an event. Let me take first aid, for example. First aid. If we have mannequins, there's first aid program, a lot of training programs online on YouTube. A lot of them, they are free. The same thing you will learn in a paid program, they are freely available. So if we put this on the screen and have mannequins for people to practice, then have an instructor to guide. That's why most of the first aid instructors will usually prefer having a screen play out, and intermittently they will pause and explain why. It's a visual aid and it does an amazing work. It's easier for people to look at this thing and learn. It makes information sticky. Now, Storytelling, making content relatable and engaging. I've already given the examples here of how storytelling can help. Now, creating engaging learning sessions. These are the things that we need to take into cognizance. Active learning techniques would help. Group work, hands-on practice, role-playing, problem-solving activities. Okay. I participated in a global health competition when I was in school by Ambos and NIMSA. I think they did a collaboration project with NIMSA, and we had people from different countries, the nutritionists, the pharmacists, and all of that. So we're broken into different groups, and we're giving case studies. We're giving cases, a particular patient, diabetic patients with back pain and this, that. So we had to like sit down, and all of us, we were trying to get as much information as we could, even as undergrads at that point, get as much information as we could, communicate with ourselves with all the cross-cultural boundaries. We were able to navigate that, communicate with ourselves, draft this patient's care plan from the assessment to all of the documentations we needed to do, to referrals, to blood labs, and then to treatment plan and everything around it. Looking back at it now, I feel like I didn't even know what I did, but we tried, and it was fun because it was a group work. There was a lot of communication and collaboration in the team, and it made it more interesting to me. Made it more interesting. I would have just opted out if it was a lone job, something I had to just do alone. So gamification is another powerful secret when it comes to delivering information, to making learning more interesting. I don't know if anybody knows Quizlet here. Quizlet is an application or a tool. It's also a website, Quizlet.com, that allows you to practically learn anything you want and get quizzed on them. So if you learn something, let's say gross anatomy of upper limb, you can go to Quizlet and then you answer quizzes. Sometimes the quizzes will come like puzzle. They will be showing up on your screen very fast, and you click the answer. And at the end of the day, to compare you to other people who have played at that time, something like that. So for me, I've always been a lazy learner. Not the sense that I'm lazy, but if there's an easier way to learn, I want the easier way. I want the very much easier way. And that's why I would rather watch a 4-hour YouTube video and then go and read up my notes or read up a portion of the text that will make me understand so fast than spend the whole day trying to fight out a textbook chapter that is not working in my head. So making learning to look like a game is one of the easiest ways to pass information to your learners. So now, let's go to the next one. Technology, using applications, virtual reality, online platforms for interactive learning. This is how we can integrate technology. So we're looking at active learning techniques, gamification, technology integration. Now, the next thing, what makes a good teacher great? These are some qualities. There are actually a lot. I had to isolate these ones here. These are qualities that would, if you are already a great teacher, okay, I believe many of us are. These are the qualities that will make you exceptional, that will make you a great teacher if you're a good teacher. Now, number one is passion and enthusiasm. The passion that you use to communicate the subject matter affects the brain of your learners. Now, speaking or teaching is there's a lot of something I would call brain molecule vibration or brain matter resonance. Okay, and forget the grammar. I made that up myself. But then this is all about vibrations or energy. Okay, so now the energy that you use to deliver a training can make people agree with you easily to deliver your thoughts. And this is why people win debates. This is why some politicians can easily win people's hearts when they have no intention to do anything. Okay, passion, enthusiasm. They deliver the information in a way that people can buy into their dream, buy into the vision immediately. So passion is contagious. Okay, if you speak about a subject matter with excitement, if you as a physiotherapist or a speech therapist or an audiologist or an O&P professional or which other one, chiropractor, all of that, OT, if you look at your younger ones and you're trying to tell them about the benefits of physiotherapy or the impact of occupational therapy or the impact of whatever, and then you are not saying it as if you're excited. You're not saying it as if it really works. You don't sound convincing. They will take in that same energy, and they will not really be convinced. We'll just keep doing it because, okay, they said this is the way to do it. Now, number two is adaptability. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to modify your teaching methods based on learner feedback. Okay, so if, for example, you are using a slide. Okay, now something interesting happened today. Thankfully, some of us here were in the training, a women's health training by Dr. Sunita, in collaboration with Women's Health, NSP Women's Health Group. And she was delivering her training, and all of a sudden, some people were complaining they were not seeing the whiteboard she was pulling up on Zoom. Normally, it would have been okay. Don't worry, you will get the recording, and that ends there. She continues, but she said she's going to do something else. She quickly had to create a new slide, just open new slide in her slide, abandon the whiteboard since some people could not open it, and then she started drawing the same thing in the new slide. Okay, that's adaptability. A great teacher must be able to think outside the box, to invent, to innovate on the spot, to ensure that the learners are actually learning. You can try an example, you can give an example, and the learners don't understand. You look at them, and that eye contact is showing you that, no, these people don't get what I'm talking about. These people don't just get it.
Apologies.
So,
Chiji, okay. Hold on, please.
sir?
Sorry. I'm looking at the time.
Okay.
We still have 13 slides to go, please. So the question and answer, can you just hasten up? If there are other things we can cover in the next class.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the
So,
time.
so yes, empathy and lifelong learning, all of these things matter. Okay, all of these things matter. We have to be able to keep up with information and then put yourself in the shoes of your learners. Now, the next one is useful tools and props for effective teaching. This one will come under the teaching and learning for next week. This particular one, I'll take my time to explain all of this. How you can put this into good use, and then I'll also share some resources. Well, it seems okay, yes. So now this is um the conclusion. We've actually come to the end. We've come to the end. The rest of it is just practical examples. We talked about pedagogy, the importance of pedagogy for rehabilitation professionals, reflecting on current teaching practices, and then implementing new strategies. And then we have this. So I'm going to share this one quickly. Let's run through one or two practical examples, and then we would open for questions. So this is one: customized patient education, enhancing patient compliance, improving outcomes. How to apply this? So you want to improve patient outcomes in terms of compliance. Your patients are not compliant to the exercise programs and all of that. They come back every time saying they don't remember. I do not remember. My son, life is so difficult these days, and I'm thinking about a lot of things. So you may want to maybe give them charts, exercise charts, printouts, give them a link, create a link to some YouTube videos, put it in a playlist, and send to them so they can see it well arranged. Anytime they want to do it, they can put it in front of them and follow suit. Now, the next one is an example. So, a kinesthetic learner recovering from a knee injury using physical demonstrations of exercise rather than just verbal instructions. So you can imagine trying to give somebody sit to stand exercises or straight leg raise exercise, and you're doing it over the phone, or you're just saying it to them. So you lie down and then you put your leg straight and then you keep raising the leg up and down. They won't understand what you're saying. So this is a practical example where you may need extra guided visual information. So the continuously assess and adapt based on patient feedback. So each time this patient comes back to the clinic, to say, okay, in fact, before you even let them go, ask them to repeat what you told them. Okay, this is the exercise. You've demonstrated it for them. Let them do it alone. Repeat it before they go. And then they come back again. On their presentation, you ask them, Mr. Chinedu or Mr. Emeka, how far have you been doing your home exercises? They say yes. Okay. So how has it been? So I've been experiencing some difficulties. Can you do what I told you again? So when they do it, that's you getting feedback. You now realize, okay, no, you shouldn't do it to this range. Do it to this range. Do it this way. So those are some of the things that you can work on in terms of feedback. Then this is application in terms of interdisciplinary teaching strategies. Okay, how to apply this care-based, case-based learning, developing case studies with input from multiple dimensions, fostering collaboration. I would particularly love to see this scenario playing out a lot, where we can have people from different professions come together and analyze cases. Is one of the things that we are missing in the Nigerian health delivery system, and it's hurting a lot of patients. A scenario where, this is an example, patients with TBI who needs input from the speech, the OT, the PT, and then even the O&P professionals, and each of them can come together and then just share. Let's see this patient together. Okay, what are we going to do? What are the movement deficits? What are the physical issues? What are the speech deficits that they have? What do you think you can do? And sometimes too, I would want to quickly say this, that sometimes all this may even take is a phone call. All they may take is a phone call, setting up virtual forums. Okay, this is the patient, this is the case. Do you think there's anything you can do for this patient? If yes, how do we get started? So, using regular debriefs to evaluate effectiveness of the interdisciplinary approach. Now, this is enhancing student clinical training, and this is what it's all about. Okay, building competence, simulation-based learning. So now we did a lot of this in school, where you can bring models to act like stroke patients, and then students use that model to learn how to transfer, how to lift, how to, instruct or treat a patient and all of that. Absolutely fantastic example. So this is patient-centered goal setting. These ones are pretty much easy to explain. I mean, they are self-explanatory. Once you look at them, you're going to see the intention behind the example. Okay, so here it's basically more about seeing your patient as a collaborator. Okay, as a collaborator, as part of the whole team. Okay. Now, facilitating peer learning and support, also, if you look at this, it's very self-explanatory. Okay. Integrating technology as an example. I've already mentioned this, so it's nothing to worry about. I've already explained this. Using mobile apps, instructional videos, and all of that. So we already have these tools. We already have some of these apps where people can go to and see recommended exercises. You can just tick the right ones for them, and then they can go and do, follow up with that and get feedback on the go. So this is scaffolded learning, building learning in series. Okay. It's all about providing ongoing constructive feedback to support the learning journey. So, yes, using storytelling is also an example. All of these things we have already outlined it to teach the importance of early mobilization after surgery, share a story about a patient who significantly improved their outcomes through early rehabilitation interventions. Same thing I said then. You can paint pictures. A patient who chose to do traditional bone setter over physiotherapy, how they got injured in the process, and they cut off their arms, and eventually they couldn't use the arm again, and all of that. So that's a good way to use stories to teach fundamental lessons. So this is about cultural competence, and this is the end. Thank you very much for being a part of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chijoke Utipa. Thank you so much. That was such an awesome class. I think this class is actually it's self-explanatory because we actually it's something that we get to see in our everyday clinical practice, trying to relate with our patients, telling them what to do, explaining to them the reason why they should do that, because some of them think just flex your hand, extend it, because that's what they see us doing in the clinic. But then you telling them the reason why they should do so will actually be effective for them to get the desired results that is needed for that condition. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for the class. So right now, I don't know if any
Thank
of us.
you. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. So I don't know if any of us have questions, some clarifications. We don't have much time, but I know Dr. Choke here is a good teacher, so you likely take the questions and explain more to it. All right, please let's have questions if we have any, because time is no longer on our side. Any
People are
questions?
raising their hands. People are raising their hands. Look at the screen. Victoria, people are
Okay.
raising their hands.
Their hands raised. Their
Yeah,
hands
so
raised.
I don't know who raised his hand first, but let's start with you, Mr. Sunny Ewula Basulima. Sorry if I didn't get that right. I think
Okay,
it's
Suleiman Aminu.
yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, sir. I don't know, my
Thank you, sir.
question maybe not really directed. Sorry for that, please. What can be the way out in teaching a cognitively impaired neurological patient? How? Because I do get it. I do find it very difficult to whenever I come across patients like that. How can I gain their confidence? How can you teach them on how to carry out some certain exercise, even though they are cognitively impaired? They don't obey commands suddenly, or they do take time. If you ask them to do something, they don't respond on time. So please, what can be the way out? Thank you very much.
Okay. So I would say this: teaching people who have cognitive impairment it has to be from a multidimensional approach. And one thing to also know is it depends on the level of the impairment. It depends on how far they are able to understand, the intensity, the degree of the impairment. And then one of the things that would really help is using a lot of reward. Okay, using a lot of reward is still basically the same principle, just that it's for a different kind of people, a different kind of person, or another individual. Just see them
And
as
prompts.
just see them as a unique unique set of people, and then find out what you can do for them, find out what works for them. Now, like I said, rewards may work a lot. Sometimes something as little as a high five can help someone to be more drawn to you as a therapist, as a clinician. There are patients who some people will be saying, "Oh, this patient is a difficult patient." They consider it a difficult patient encounter. They don't obey feedback. They don't do this. They don't do their own program. They don't agree to anything. But then I come to them, and next thing we are playing. high five, they'll give a high five. Okay, do this. You bring a ball and they kick it and all of that. So find a way to make it pleasurable for them. The truth of the matter is sometimes I don't know if this is going to be helpful to what you asked, but sometimes we may be imagining that people don't like to to follow what we're saying or follow instruction or obey command, but then it's just the fact that it's boring for them. You can imagine you being frustrated about your medical condition or not being able to do what your mates are doing and all of that, to play like them, to do work like them, and then you come to a clinic and somebody's telling you to do 15 repetitions of straight leg raise, something that you even consider boring. So a lot of times it may not necessarily be that they don't want to, it may just be that it has not been brought to the person the way they love it. But then if you have tried everything within your ability, you've tried to make it interesting, you've tried to make it fun, you've tried to make it engaging for the particular individual, and it's not working, then you may consider a more multi-dimensional approach, like inviting other professionals and hearing their opinion, and also maybe switching the service providers to see what works best. Thank you very much.
Sorry, before we go ahead, the registrar has been raising hands since. So let's take the registrar. Dr. Ngozi, please hold on. Registrar, please go ahead.
It's okay if we check others. I don't mind. I'm here as a student, not really as
Okay,
registrar,
sir.
so I'm fine
Okay,
joining the queue.
Okay, sir. Now, just to shed more light to what the question on cognitive impairment, I would take it that let's have discernment over when we teach pedagogy, when we teach, we are looking at, on the average, a patient. I do not see a lot of content within these that will help us to address issues of mental cognitive disorders, right? So most of the examples have been on cases that, on assumption, don't have mental cognitive issues, right? So if we are going to deal with it, I think we should have a clear lecture where we are going to talk about application of this knowledge when it comes to issues of mental and cognitive disorder, right? Because no matter what we do, why I say that our training as professionals in Nigeria, we are not taught how to assess mental cognitive disorders as part of what we should do basically in the clinic. What I'm saying is that if we are going to see, just like Sani Sulaiman said earlier, you have a stroke patient who have cognitive impairment, you want to give them instructions. But most of our training is centered around the paralysis. It's not centered about the role of their understanding of where they are, their situation. And there's no way they can have a carryover of activity when they are cognitively impaired. So training persons with cognitive impairment will require us to actually sit down, right, and talk about how to deal with cognitive impairment. Luckily for us, if you look at the rehabilitation domains of World Health Organization, for rehabilitation to be effective, the first step in domain is mental cognitive impairment, because they know you can't make any success in rehabilitation when you don't address mental cognitive problem, right? So don't extrapolate this, use it within discernment that is it applicable in this case. But I would suggest we are going to create another lecture where how do you relate, give instructions to patients who have mental cognitive disorder is key for us to be able to work effectively inside rehabilitation. That's why we don't have physiotherapists who want to work in mental centers. Oh, I hope you get me in psychiatric hospitals, because these are challenges for all of us, right? Not only physiotherapists and all that, right? So let's put it in mind. And I would say, Tumishe Chidera, please look at it. Mental cognitive impairment, how do you communicate with them to have an effective rehabilitation? Let's try to pick a topic on it and we discuss it here openly. Right, that way we will do justice. So don't let's extrapolate Chijioke's presentation that is going to be applicable everywhere. So over to you, Dr. Ngozi. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, our presenter. That was great. So great. But then,
Thank you.
yes, I was, it's like an eye opener when you were giving all the examples, and I was like, wow, where exactly did I fall into? I don't even know. But then I was trying to, this issue of using problem solving in pedagogy, isn't it applicable? Because I know some lecturers in the what you were saying practically should not, in a higher institution, for example, you have a place for critical thinking. I mean, problem solving should also fall under a style. Like the other colleague said about the best format is the mixed method, which I agree with her. Our colleague, I don't really know her name, that answered your question. So, but then I didn't hear anything about the problem solving style because, when you were in school, some of your lecturers actually give you topics to go and research on, of which you come back to present. Isn't it supposed to be part? So I want you to just throw more light in that area. Thank you.
That
Thank
was
you very
part
much.
of the cognitive. She explained it.
Yes. Yes, and even when I talked about, I mentioned group plays, role playing, and all of that. I talked about it there. It's these things they are basically the same with different names. So if you're going to give people an assignment, okay, go and discuss this together, form groups, then come back to the class and you discuss. These are basically tasks, group tasks that you're given. It's still very, very much covered in the presentation. However, the thing now is how efficient is it going to be if it is not well, depends on how well it is monitored, okay, and then the interest of the learners as well. It has to be well structured, it has to be well carried out, it has to be well monitored. So if you are given an assignment for people to go and do group presentations and then come back, the quality of what they are giving should also be monitored. Because I remember that one of the things that we went through at that time is some people wouldn't want to do anything in groups. They wouldn't want to do anything. And then they're going to be like the crusaders and the martyrs who would take on the whole work on themselves. And at the end of it, everybody's rushing. Okay, give me the small one that I will say, 3 minutes. They will just carry it and then they'll stand in front of they don't understand it, but they just read it off. And then they know that, okay, they're going to get group score, and then they're going to get their own score. So somehow they will still get something. But if it is well done, that's a very, very fantastic way to drive that learner engagement. Very amazing. So it's one of those.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
we can go to
Registrar,
yes, the next.
John, please, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chijioke. Wonderful. 2 comments that I have. Number one, it's important that, but because I see many of the examples that we give, even in the comments, related to patient care, very good, because ultimately that's what the primary goal is, clinical practice. How do we apply all this in clinical practice? But I just want to call our attention to the fact that what we are doing now is train the trainers. And we're saying that we are going to train others. So this set is going to serve as potential trainers to others. And therefore, let's also think of this as part of what we need to be able to train others. So if we have a workshop and we invite you to serve as a trainer, so how do you train people? So also think of that, and not just the issue of translating it to clinical practice, which also I know is very important. Then secondly, just to add to that issue of someone with a cognitive problem, how do you treat them? It's a neurological problem when you have a cognitive problem, right? So there is motor learning. Under motor learning, you are going to have explicit, implicit types of learning. And I'm not going to go into details of that. Usually you determine what part of the brain is affected. Then you select the type of learning that you are going to use for the patient. There is a particular one called procedural learning. Because when someone has cognitive problem, they have problem with attention. And if you want to give them a task that has 3 different tasks altogether in it, for example, say, stand up from a bed. That will, if he's lying down, they will need to sit up, they will need to turn around, and then they will need to stand up. So you don't give them the instruction with the 3 different steps at the same time. So you break it. You say, okay, sit up, and then lie down, sit up. When they are trained on that, then you say, okay, while they are sitting up, and you turn around and put your legs beside the bed. And then when they learn that, you now say, okay, stand up. So when they learn each separately, then you are now combining the first and the second, and then later the second and the third. And then at some point, you now ask them to do the task at the same time. So these are some of the ways that you deal with cognitive problems. But I'm very happy that Mr. Anjorin has suggested that there should be a lecture on that separately. Thank you, and well done.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have one last question to take. So Sunny Suleiman, can we have your question, please?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Chijoke, Dr. Chijoke. I just want, I have one contribution and a question. I was going through the slides and I saw so many things which I really appreciated. Thank you very much for that. Most especially when it comes to, applying these skills, maybe to interns or let me say patients. What I do mostly, for example, when we get to the ward, nurses, maybe we have a patient with neurological condition, they will always say at the end of our session, they will always say, what are people doing that this patient is responding to you and they are not responding to us? Even my intern, I always tell them, when you are seeing your patient, make sure, don't feel irritated. Communicate effectively with your patient is very, very important. Don't be too hasty to go. Give them direct information, give them assignments. Let them be like expecting you the next day for the answer or for the report of the assignment you give them. So those are, I'm so happy to see it. I never know there is a course like that. So my question is this: when it comes to storytelling, trying to advise and convince a patient the effectiveness of, our intervention compared to TBS or so, well, there may be a negative feedback whereby maybe the patient may get scared. How do we deal with that? Maybe you tell the patient, oh, you're going to a TBI or you've been there before. This may happen. You coming here, some of our therapists, they will tell you, well, some of our doctors, let me just use that. They'll tell you it's 50-50. You've already killed the patient morale. So how can we go about that when such negative feedback comes up?
Okay. Thank you very much. I particularly love this question because it's part of the things that I have decided that, I would definitely address in the November communication for patients and caregivers. But let me say this here. The way we communicate matters. It can do more harm than good sometimes. The way we divulge certain information. I had an incident that happened somewhere. A colleague of mine saw a patient's MRI and then, was just like, the way you are going, from what I'm seeing, you may be in, how do you even say it? You would need a knee replacement within the next 10 years, something like that. So this just saw it and I was like, this is bad. No, this is bad. Apparently, this person in question is a medical doctor. And this is also someone who later opened up to me that she had experienced, not that she had experienced, she was having PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So that information added to her issues. And then what happened? She went home that day and she couldn't walk. She came to physio with her legs. And after the whole thing happened, there was nothing, no treatment, nothing, just assessments. She went home that day, she couldn't walk. She started experiencing strange pain in her knee. It was as if the symptoms were just multiplying and all of that. And it happened to be that it was just her mind that was playing those tricks because of what we said. Now, when
Yeah.
she came and I saw her, and I even looked at her x-ray, I told her I'm not seeing, truly, I wasn't seeing any serious issue with the x-ray. I wasn't seeing any serious pathology. I suspected a soft tissue injury. So I tried to explain to her, okay, maybe it's not exactly like this. Maybe it's not like this. Maybe, but this is what we are looking at. This is how we'll get it done. And then let's see the next few sessions. Instantly, she already started feeling better.
Yeah.
So when it comes to addressing fear, one of the ways to dissolve fear is by using quality information, by communicating effectively, communicating with empathy. Okay.
Okay.
So now there's something that we have to bear in mind when it comes to communication to patients. One is you're trying to communicate in a way that manages expectation. You are trying to not give them false hope, and then you're trying not to give no hope. Exactly. So now a patient comes to me and then they're considering going to a what's it called? Native, you know, they've tried everything, it's not working, and then maybe they've told them, oh, this thing you will live with it for a long time, or the doctor sees a patient and tells the patient it's written on their this thing spondylolisthesis. And somehow patients usually believe that the longer the name of the disease, the faster it will
The
kill
bigger the
them.
problem. Yeah.
Exactly. The bigger the problem. So they see spondylolisthesis, and they are like, this is big. I had a patient once who asked me, CJ, am I going to end up in a wheelchair? Eventually, that patient didn't stay up she didn't have up to 6 physiotherapy sessions, and she just discharged herself. She saw me on the walkway and was dancing, my physio, I'm pain free, But then her major problem at that time was, am I going to end up in a wheelchair? I've met many patients who ask similar questions. They feel like, oh, that's the end. Once they say this diagnosis is spondylosis, that's the end. The way the doctor even squeezed face and said it, no. So now, if I want to explain for a patient who comes and they are considering other alternative sources, one thing I want to do is to dissolve the atmosphere, dissolve the concern first. So why do you want to see this person? Is it like a money issue? Is it because you feel like the hospital wouldn't give you what you want? Because they have their biases. So you want to start identifying each bias and deconstructing it. So you see people that you ask them and they're like, Thor, it's my wife that insisted I should come for physio. If not, I already wanted to go and see one Yoruba man that used to set back, it's my wife that said I should come for physio. At that point, you're trying to identify, okay, what are the factors involved? Is it that you don't believe in physio, And they're going to ask you, what's this physio self? Are you not people that do massage? So you found a bias to deconstruct. By the time you prove to him through the knowledge, through the way you're communicating, that we are not people that do massage, there's way more to physio, and these are the people that we have helped. You are using examples, real life scenarios, okay, a man came here 3 weeks ago and then, he was so afraid. He was thinking this was the end of life. And then he called us this morning. He went to swim with his family, that kind of thing. They are beginning to see hope in your story, Then I also let patients know the dark side of the alternative options that they want to try. It's not to cause fear. It's just my sincere concern. So there are people who would come and I'll let them know that, look, if you go to the gym with this injury and the gym instructor does not understand your condition, if he doesn't know what is wrong with you exactly, and if he cannot explain it to you scientifically, what's going on in your body, he can go and put more pressure, more force on you, no pain, no gain, and then you will have this injury again, and it will cause more problems. Or that I have seen, there's a particular one I share, a small girl who died because they used traditional bone setter. She fell in school, had a fracture. They invited me and gave me Neurogesic to come and start doing massage. that the girl, the hand was painful, the arm was pain, the forearm was painful, and then she couldn't walk. I was like, what's the correlation between painful arm after a fall and then this young girl not being able to walk? There was no correlation. But they gave me neurogesic to come and do massage. I said, no, I can't touch this girl with bandage around her arm. I said, we have to take this girl to this young lady to the hospital. After all the arrangements, going to the hospital, they don't have lights, x-rays not working, all of those things. Ended up extending to the next day. By the next day, they said, oh, they will go. Then next thing, I got a call that they said they would try a second opinion from another native, you know. So I said, I've tried my best. I did all I could to convince them. And then by the third day, I got a call again. Ah, this young lady is dead. This young lady is gone. I mean, I cried, I wept, I felt so bad because it could have been avoided. She probably had sepsis ongoing, you know. There was already complications. She was hyperventilating. I could see those signs. I tried everything I could. So now when people come to me and they're like, oh, I want to go to native, I let them know, okay, these are the risks. So these people, it's not that they don't know what they are doing entirely. Sometimes what they do work, but then they may not have an empirical way of presenting the evidence of what they are doing. So by that alone, it is risky for you. You don't want to be used as an experiment. Okay. But this is what we have. And this is why it's better to consider using, a method that is more scientifically proven. If anything goes wrong, we will know where it started going wrong from. So that's how to use, that kind of model to actually help them understand what they are getting into, and then trust you more as the professional. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Well, before I hand over to the coordinators to round up, let's, because Sani mentioned something about PTSD, right? And maybe it's Chijioke himself that mentioned something about PTSD. Again, this shows the complexity of the issue of mental cognition disorders. My own elder brother was in the military where he also suffered some injury, and I saw a lot of his colleagues who have PTSD. Many of them can walk around, but they walk around like zombies. So it's not about movement problem. They can sit in one place for 8 hours, 10 hours, not doing anything, not even knowing where they are, and they are not going to follow any instructions because they can't even find their bearing where they are. Right, and I remember last year, or even the year before the last, when we went for accreditation at Yaba Reference Hospital. Inside the physiotherapy department there, I met 4 army officers who are brought from Miami, they have been in Boko Haram war for over 8 years. They are returned and they are put in at work, and the HOD said they come to work, but they will sit down, that they don't communicate. Some of them don't even talk to anybody, because even if they are going to talk, they are talking to themselves. They won't follow any instructions. They would be able to write anything, right? And some just started crying suddenly. I hope you get me. So when we look at mental cognitive issues, it goes beyond just the movement and all that. Mostly, also when you talk about those who are managing children, a lot of children with mental cognitive disorders don't have mobility problems, but they can't follow any instructions. Many children with autism are in that, in the spectrum, are like that, right? So when we talk about dealing with all these issues about addressing and giving instructions, that's why I said, let's have a lecture where we would address this problem, because I'm telling you, many physiotherapists have problems. In that hospital, where I also took my own elder brother to, I met 2 people there who has PTSD. The physiotherapists in that hospital don't attend to them. My own brother, they attend to him because he has paralysis. Physiotherapists attend to paralysis, but they didn't attend to mental and cognitive problems. This is the reality, right? So over to you, to Mr. Chidera. So, it's something we really need to address, because I really felt for them.
All right, sir. That's noted. Okay, so before we call it a day for today's class, thank you so much once again, Dr. Chichoke, and to everyone that asked questions. I think the questions helped us to understand some things the more. Yeah. So before we leave, we have a little change. The quiz that we usually take after the class, the link will be sent here, no longer in the general group. So please, immediately it's being sent here, kindly copy the link and then and answer the quiz as soon as you can, because the duration won't be as long as it was before during the last class. So so this is the link. Yeah, that's the link to the quiz for this night. So please copy the link because it won't be sent to general group, and in 12 minutes time it will be out. The distant access will be closed. So I think that's just everything for tonight. Thank you so much for being present. Thank you for your questions and for your participation. So we'll call it a night today. Dr. Andrew, please, is there any other thing we need to address tonight before we call it a day?
No, my boss.
Okay, sir. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So that's it for tonight. Try to answer the quiz and have a beautiful night's rest.
I can't get the link.
Okay, check for it in the chat. The chat, you see it there. Yeah, in the Zoom, like it's not in the general group, it's not in the WhatsApp group. I sent it to the Zoom chat. Please confirm if you've seen it.
We've seen it. We've seen it.
Okay.
It's there in the chat.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yes,
Good night.
I've seen the link. I've seen the link. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. See you.
Good night, Dr. Ngozi.
Please, has the link been sent?
Yes, the link is in the comment section.
Okay.
Hello, please. If the moderators are still there, if you can hear me, the link was not sent to the YouTube. That's why I quickly left the YouTube to come here to comment. So we on YouTube, we didn't see the link.
Okay.
Oh, good
Let
night,
me.
everyone. Thank you, Dr. Chijoke.
And
Thank you
Dr.
very
Chido,
much.
due to that, I just left the YouTube to come here. I haven't seen the link, so I don't know how they can fit in
Okay.
that.
I'll resend it. I'll resend it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chido.
Welcome.